In this video, part 1, we're going to talk about mindset as a barrier to rest. You can think of all things, anything to do with your mind, the way you think and perceive things, and how that can affect rest. I'll list a few things and then we can actually discuss it. So thinking rest needs to look a particular way, mental health challenges that can come up for individuals, unhelpful coping strategies that we have and we've learned over time, emotional regulation, internal barrier that can really impact how rest is then implemented in our lives. This series is going to entail rest, in particularly the different ways our rest can be disrupted and the different ways and strategies we can implement into our lives to increase peace and that rest back into our lives and into our systems. A lot of the times we can understand the importance of rest and actually really crave it, but it's very difficult to implement it when there's many caps we have on our head. So if that sounds like you're multifaceted, you have big goals, but you also want to implement rest in your life, this is the community for it. Rest having to look a certain way. When we look around us, there is wellness, there is mindfulness, there are so many well-being things that is being pushed into our faces. However, we need to realize that when we take in the information, we need to take it in with a filter. This filter is who we are, our personality, our experiences, our likes, our dislikes. Someone could recommend that resting this way is amazing, but for me, it's horrible and it doesn't help me sleep. So it's not useless, but it's just not applicable to myself. Rest doesn't have to look a certain way. Rest can be you being a night owl or a morning, like you're a morning person, and therefore you tailor your rest and your routine to your sleep routine and your circadian rhythm. So that's another factor. Also, rest usually reflects our values. So if you value rest and you value ease in your life, for different people it can look differently. I can value rest, you can value rest, but how that is expressed are two very different things. So having that awareness and understanding that this person is recommending this thing on the internet, but it doesn't work for me, can be so empowering, and it can also help your system and who you are feel seen, because you now recognize that I don't operate the same way as this other person. That's okay, but I still value rest, and this is how it looks like in my life. Mental health challenges. So mental health challenges is such an important factor to consider, because mental health challenges can be depression, anxiety, different disorders that you've been diagnosed with. It also includes medication. So the medication that you're on can also affect how much you sleep, your quality of sleep, and your relationship with sleep. So it's very important when you're listening to this, or even listening to myself, be a bit kinder to yourself, especially if you have a diagnosis or if you're on medication. Because if you ask your doctor the effects of this medication, one of the factors is most likely going to be sleep. And if it's not, that's okay, but definitely consider that. When we think about anxiety and that anxiousness and the uncomfortable feeling and big emotions we feel inside of our body, that can also impact how comfortable we are when we're going to sleep. If I'm not internally comfortable, I cannot go to sleep. If I have anxiety here and in my chest and in my throat, it's like telling someone that just has aching pain, let's put the band-aid on it, just go to sleep. But sometimes that might be a fracture, and therefore we can't treat it as if it's just a scab that needs a band-aid. So, like I mentioned, definitely consider medication and how that's impacting you and your sleep. These are some of the barriers that really do affect our sleep. In high school, I struggled with sleep and I struggled with rumination because I used to think a lot about my friends and academic schoolwork and just different things, right? And I got home and I kept thinking about it, and then my sleep was disrupted. Now, there's probably an association. There's not a direct link, but in reflection, they may have been associated. So, yeah. If you're in high school, maybe you can also think about that and different challenges you're going through. How is that affecting you? Unhelpful coping. So, we grow up with different habits and different strategies to help us cope, help us feel safe, help our system feel like, okay, we don't have to be scared right now. that coping strategy or that behavior, sometimes it can be very helpful, sometimes it's not so helpful. It's about you and the role and the function that that behavior or that habit has in your life. Everyone has a different relationship with different things in life. I can't tell you that exercise is unhelpful for you. You have to kind of reflect and say, am I using exercise to distract myself? Do I need to go for that 5th gym session in the week? Or do I actually need to stay home, rest, and be at ease? This leads me into my 4th point, which is emotion regulation. So when I think about emotional regulation, I connect it with coping, because emotion regulation is, can I identify the emotions I'm going through right now, their meaning, and how they're affecting me? Emotionally regulating yourself is the ability to manage and control one's own emotional state and responses. It involves influencing which emotions you feel, when you feel them, and how you express or experience them. The reason why I connected this with coping, or it's like very tied together, is emotion regulation is a way you cope with challenges in your life and different stresses you face. So when someone annoys you or you are overwhelmed by the amount of workload you have, how you respond to that emotionally can depend on your perception of it and also the toolkit that you have. So breathing exercises, rest. Have you rested internally to know that I can figure this out, I can cope with this, not just because of what I'm saying, and not just because I'm saying I can cope with it, but because I know that I've overcome this before, that this is just an emotion. Yes, I'm going to feel emotions, they are very real. However, I can still do this despite having this emotion. I can not be crippled by this emotion. And sometimes we don't have the skills, we haven't developed the skills to actually cope, right? So we all have emotions, but not everyone has healthy coping strategies to combat those emotions, or not even combat them, but to relate to them. How is this even related to rest? If we have a really bad day and we get home and we don't know how to regulate our emotions, we don't know that we need to actually pause, do a breathing exercise, stretch, we're going to doom scroll. We might even stay up instead of actually going to sleep, because we don't know how to respond to this feeling that's in us, which is dread sometimes, exhaustion, it is anxiety, because the next day you understand that there is a lineup of tasks that you still need to get done. This skill helps you navigate life in general and your relationships. When you're embarrassed at work, you do something wrong because you weren't paying attention, and someone talks to you, how does your inner system respond to that? And then after work, how do you process that situation that's happened? The better coping strategies you have to regulate your emotions, the more confident you feel like you can approach challenges in your life and goals in your life. I feel like I've kind of overspoken about that one, so let's go to the next one. Contentment. I really believe that when we're not content within ourselves, it is very difficult to be at peace. If you look around and you can't see anything that helps you get grounded and know that I'm grateful for where I'm at, I'm content. Yes, my life is not perfect, but I'm content. It can keep you up at night. And I know you would know this. It's the comparison game. I should have done more today, or work went great, but the kids just wouldn't stop crying. I don't know what's happening. My content creation went great today, but I still got a whole heap of uni work staying there for me. And it's this constant, I am not doing enough, or I can't be content where I'm at right now. I need more, I need more, I need more. We're always going to compare ourselves. It's going to come up sometimes. But what we do with that and the lens within which we look at it is what really matters and what affects how we can go to sleep at night. I look at it like a book. When I can have discernment and reflection on all the things I've done, right, I can have ease within myself knowing I've actually done a whole lot. And I know who I'm talking to right now. You've done a whole lot. And I can confidently tell you that because I know if you're a viewer, if you're watching this video, you're someone that has a whole heap of hobbies, a lot of goals, and a lot of hats you are wearing right now. And you didn't get there just, it was hard work, it was discipline, it was a journey, it was insight, it was a lot of things. So when it comes to contentment, especially this point, I need you to look at your life as a book and to reflect. What are the things I've actually done in the last few years? How have I grown as a person? Even emotional regulation, at some point, I could not regulate my emotions and I would have a meltdown, or I would just cry, or it would be a silent cry, doom scroll, or I would just not take care of myself because I didn't know how to deal with this big emotion that was in my chest, my shoulders, and all the tenseness. And over time, I started to get better at that. That is not the physical achievement we can see, but it is a big achievement. So I need you to look at yourself like that as well. Have that perspective, right? And when you have that perspective, you can then come back in the present and you can realize, oh, I've done a whole lot. I'm doing great. I'm doing the best I can with what I have, and I've done a really great job at it. And yes, my life does not look perfect, but in context to my identity, to my culture, to the challenges I've gone through, this is a really good spot to be in. Even if it's not the accolades, it's the character development, it's the discipline, it's the perseverance, it's the resilience that you honestly created within yourself. That really combats this whole incontentment. I got so much to do. I haven't done enough. I hear it. I've been there. I was there last week where I would just wake up with dread and I couldn't understand why. But I had to realize and tell myself, yes, I'm feeling the dread, but this is also the fact. This is what I've done this week. This is what I'm working on. And I have to be proud of myself and I have to acknowledge that. So we've talked about different things when it comes to the barriers that are affecting us. Talked about thinking rest needs to look a certain way. Girl, if you don't need a million pillows, don't buy a million pillows for yourself. Rest looks different for everyone. Mental health challenges, this is a really big one. Be kinder to yourself, please. Unhelpful coping strategies. The community we have around us, the friendships, emotional regulation. That was a big chunk of this video. How can you regulate your emotions to combat and face challenges that come in your life? And the last one was about contentment and being more content in your life by looking at your life through a perspective of a book. What chapter are you in? I hope you got some insight and you feel seen, helped you feel heard. I really hope you can also have a bit more self-compassion towards yourself and realize there is a lot of different things that is conflicting with you putting rest into your life. And I acknowledge it. But next video, we're going to talk a bit more about environmental factors and barriers that affect us sleeping and resting. And comment down other mindsets that you might have that really affect how much you sleep and your sleep habits and things like that, or internal rest. Let's have that conversation.